People who survived COVID-19, what is the one thing you wish you knew about the process? People in their 30s can have strokes thanks to COVID-19, so know the signs. The long-haul recovery is very real and a nightmare. You don't necessarily get better like with other viruses, where you turn a corner and make daily progress towards health. It cycles through good days and bad days and punishes you if you push on good days. The death toll is not the whole story. The virus has killed quality of life for countless people. I'm in month 8 of recovery and still can't walk around the block without chest pain and days of fatigue. I used to hike and bike and take the stairs. How many phone calls you get? I'm by no means popular, but I got more phone calls over those 3 weeks than I have had in 3 years. My GP, contact tracers, board of health representatives, family, test centers. Worst of all, I had terrible connection in my room, so missed half of them, and the few I got always seemed annoyed with me for some reason. If you hate phone calls or can't recall dates accurately, there's another reason to not get COVID. Losing your sense of taste and smell has a weird effect on your mentality. It's like 2/5 of your major senses are gone. You feel less human. Your drive to eat goes down a lot and you almost have to force yourself to do it. Voltaire wrote, "How tedious would eating and drinking be, I'd God had not also made them a pleasure." I came to realize how true that kind of was. I currently have COVID. I went home from work Wednesday with a bad headache. By the time I got home, it progressed to a migraine. I couldn't sleep that night, and had a fever of 102. I called in sick to work that morning. Since my job is pretty important that I'm not sick with COVID, I'm a scientist that makes the reagents for the test kits. I took a test Thursday afternoon. The positive result came Friday, but by then I knew I had it. The chest pain is unbelievable. I have trouble breathing. When I can catch my breath, it hurts to hold it for more than a second. It feels like I sprinted a mile straight in cold weather. I can't stand for more than 30 seconds, or sit upright for more than a few minutes. My skin is very sensitive to touch, to the point it is painful if I rub it at all. I get hot flashes, where 1 minute I'm very cold, and the next I'm burning alive and sweating bullets. My throat feels like I drank a gallon of boiling water. I can't talk right now because of how bad it hurts. A major disappointment is that I can't taste anything at all. My girlfriend tested that by sneaking mushrooms into a stew, and I can't stand mushrooms. Didn't taste a thing. Thankfully, I am no longer running a fever, but my other symptoms are getting worse. I hope this qualifies for this post, as, thus far, I have survived COVID-19. I wish I knew how bad it was, so I could prepare a bit better mentally for it. It's really kicking my ass. For context, I am an athletic male, in mid-20s. No history of health issues. Last weekend I ran a half marathon with no issue. How much it drains you mentally and physically. Also how much it sucks to lose your sense of smell and taste. I'm a doctor at a NYC hospital that was a designated COVID center during the first wave. I didn't have COVID, but a number of my friends and co-workers did. Lots of my patients did. If you're pregnant and diabetic, it can cause your diabetes to go out of control. Your fetus may or may not live. If you have underlying conditions, like multiple sclerosis, it can cause flare-ups and new symptoms, like seizures. Your sense of taste/smell can be damaged long-term. Bartender friend has very muted taste now. The fatigue that happens with and after infection can also last a very, very long time. And it can be debilitating. Some of the medical students that got it complained that they have a lot of difficulty concentrating like they did before COVID. The fevers can be very severe, like 103 to 104 for weeks on end. Some people have zero symptoms. I got it right as the world was shutting down in mid-March, so there were still so many unknowns. I wasn't able to wear a mask at the hospital, where I worked, to save on supplies. I ended up with a severe case of COVID, hospitalized twice and put on oxygen. Symptoms for 45+ days. Couldn't walk on my own for 2 weeks, had to be carried. I had zero underlying issues, was incredibly fit, and had tons of energy. I now have breathing issues, my resting heart rate is 100+, and I struggle with having enough energy to make it through a day. My sister just tested positive yesterday and she just has some head cold symptoms, so it's crazy how it can hit people so differently. Wear a mask. You never know if you're going to be the one hospitalized or the one who just loses their taste and smell. It's not worth the risk. Take your damn time rehabbing your lungs, if you're someone whose lungs were negatively affected. I, male, in good shape, 27, got COVID in late February, before anyone knew WTF was really happening. My doctors were positive it wasn't COVID, because I never had a fever. I was only confirmed to have had it a month later when I did antibody testing. Either way, about a month later, all of the shortness of breath was gone, there was no more cramping in my lungs, and I felt pretty great. I had lost a lot of weight, but I also felt very out of shape. I decided I would go skating every day for about half an hour to start to get back in shape slowly. I did this every day over one weekend, and I never felt gassed while I was doing it. Sunday morning, I woke up and I couldn't breathe. Like at all. Much worse than when I actually had COVID, and it was pretty bad then. I was diagnosed with pneumonia, and spent 3 weeks on a ventilator, and 4 weeks in rehab, then 3 months in physiotherapy. Moral of the story, take your time and consult with doctors before thinking you're all clear. It really is different for everyone, no case is exactly the same regardless of age, weight, gender, etc. I'm 21 so my age probably helped me, but it wasn't bad for me. Had a fever one day, broke the next, and have had a cough since then but feel normal otherwise. CDC says that even after you're no longer contagious, you'll probably have the cough for another month, which I still have. My roommate on the other hand is 22 and the virus hit him like a truck. Fever for multiple days, excruciating chest pain, the works. Luckily he is fine now, but the symptoms hit him for like 3 weeks while the worst of it was one day for me. I had COVID in March and had a fairly mild case, just a fever, fatigue, headaches, some digestive stuff and a cough. What I found weird was how symptoms would come and go, so 1 hour I'd feel mostly fine, but the next I'd be so feverish I'd be unable to do anything except lay in bed. The fatigue knocked me on my ass for a month but I have no long-lasting symptoms. The only other person I know who had COVID had weird gastrointestinal issues instead of respiratory symptoms. She didn't even get a cough or a fever, just fatigue, headaches, loss of taste and serious digestive issues. Several months out she is still dealing with fatigue and brain fog, plus can't taste sweet things anymore. It's so weird how COVID symptoms can be completely different though it's the same damn disease. Okay, I never got it but I have to say this. I have a coworker that got COVID-19 and whose dad died from it, but he still thinks it's fake and a conspiracy. How everyone loves to tell you about how they probably had it too because they had a cold one time, but I got double pneumonia and was hospitalized because of it. How fucked your whole body is for months after you get it. I got it back in July and have been high and low since then. The fatigue is the worst, hits out of nowhere and can last for days even 4 months after having it. My IBS got way worse and now it's a constant game of is this food going to make me puke today? The snap of cold weather we've gotten has fucked up my lungs way worse than usual. My asthma is usually controllable with my inhaler, but now with the weather change it's gotten a lot worse. I used to get maybe 1 asthma attack a year if I didn't get to my inhaler in time, and now I'm averaging about 1 a week without my inhaler helping much. They are also very painful. I'm talking feeling bruised ribs and neck/back pain from the painful coughing/hacking that follows an attack for days after, or being unable to catch my breath. Even breathing in too cold air can trigger my lungs into an attack. Keep in mind I had little to no shortness of breath during the week I had symptoms of COVID in July. My family who also got it are having similar symptoms to me, and it just goes to show that even if you, hopefully, survive COVID-19, the extent of damage is unknown.